On October 21st, a series of adult Russian Grand Prix starts at the Megasport Arena in Moscow. In fact, one of the main starts of the year for Russian figure skaters, Russians were removed from international competitions. Moreover, the dates of the competitions coincide with the international stages of the ISU Grand Prix. In Russia they took such a step consciously. The plans are to compete with the International Skating Union, ISU, which does not take a step towards the suspended Russians. The main intrigue of the tournament is whether Kamila Valieva will perform. The federation, having published the list of participants, left a note changes are possible. And this is very important, because at the beginning of October, hearings on the case of Kamila were to be held. The decision was promised to be made behind closed doors, but we will know the verdict of the Disciplinary Anti-Doping Committee on Saturday. If Valieva goes on the ice, then Ruzeta accepted the skater's arguments and allowed her to continue performing. The absence of Kamila in Megasport will mean either health problems, which must be reported at least on the day the tournament starts, or disqualification. There is no clarity in the outcome of Kamila Valieva's case yet. Ruzeta's investigation is over, but we may not find out any details, since the skater is a protected person. During the proceedings, Ruzeta also conducted an investigation into Kamila's entourage, the coaching staff and doctors. What can the headquarters of the Tutberidze group expect, and in what cases were coaches previously suspended for doping scandals? We recall the most striking cases from the history of Russian sports. In 2010, after a series of doping scandals in the Russian ski team, head coach Yuri Borodovko was banned for 2 years. Then several skiers were immediately caught on erythropoietin, among them was Borodovko's student, the 2006 Olympic champion Yevgeny Dementiev. In that case, the decision to dismiss from work was made by the executive committee of the Russian Ski Racing Federation, and not by Ruzeta. Together with Borodovko, 6 more coaches and 1 doctor were disqualified. Head coach Yuri Sharkovsky also suffered. That suspension did not mean a complete ban on coaching, but the path to the national team was closed. Borodovko himself many years later said in an interview with Sport Express, "At that time, people flourished who fraudulently influenced athletes. They approached the guys themselves and promised them pharmacological know-how, ultra-modern, giving a great effect, but not forbidden. They called the names of other athletes who used these funds. Alas, some fell for these tricks." At the same time, Borodovko did not dispute his own disqualification. In his opinion, the coach must be aware of what is happening and be responsible for everything together with the athlete. After the expiration of the period of disqualification, there was also an unspoken ban. Borodovko was simply not allowed to join the main team, and at that time it seemed that there would be no chance of returning. All this time, Yuri Viktorovich was rebooting, exchanging experience with foreign colleagues, reworking training methods and not giving up his favorite job. The return of Borodovko to big sport took place thanks to his pupil Alexei Chervotkin. Then the coach worked at the Babushkino Sports School, and a real talent fell into his hands. In the 2016-2017 season, Borodovko was entrusted with the juniors of the Russian national team, and since then his career has gone up again. The juniors, thanks to whom Borodovko returned, became Olympic champions in Beijing. Now the name of Yuri Viktorovich is associated primarily with Alexander Bolshunov, a 3-time Olympic champion, world champion and twice winner of the BHG. Race walking coach Viktor Chiugin made Moldovan walkers famous all over the world, but since 2016 he has been disqualified for life. Chiugin's students were Valery Borchin, Sergei Kurtyapkin, Vladimir Konykin, Olga Kanaskina. These walkers received suspensions based on anomalies found in the biological passport. Several times, Chiugin's athletes were caught in packs on erythropoietin. In September 2008 and in September 2015, 5 of his wards received suspensions. Elena Lashmanova in 2014 was disqualified due to a more exotic substance, GW 500 1516, or enduroball. multiple disqualifications of students and involvement in the scheme for the use of prohibited substances resulted in a life suspension. Such a decision was made by the All-Russian Athletics Federation based on the Ruzeda investigation. Already after the decision of the VFLA, Chagin was repeatedly noticed at the training camp with members of the national team. Due to one such incident, 5 Russian walkers lost their neutral status. Daria Tolkacheva, rhythmic gymnastics. You can get a suspension not only for doping, but also for obstructing a doping test. In January 2019, a similar thing happened at a rhythmic gymnastics competition in the Nizhny Novgorod region. Doping control inspectors were going to test 4 underage gymnasts, and according to the rules, this is allowed only in the presence of adults, parents, coaches, a doctor. However, the coach choreographer of the athletes Daria Tolkacheva, who was invited to the procedure, categorically told the athletes to refuse to undergo doping control. Despite the fact that the coach was notified of the punishment for her actions, she did not change her mind, and subsequently received a 4-year disqualification. Athletes did not suffer in that case, they received only a strict warning, but continued to participate in competitions. We did not remove them from sports due to their young age and gaps in knowledge of the basics of anti-doping. They did not take an educational anti-doping course on the Ruzeda website, said Margarita Pakanotskaya, former Deputy General Director of Ruzeda. What to expect from the investigation into Valieva's staff? From the information that is in the public domain, we can assume that we are talking about a one-time anti-doping rule violation, and not about regular violations, as in the case of Chagin. A repetition of the Borodovko case is also unlikely. In that case, the decision to dismiss the coaches was largely image and organizational for the FLGR, and the violations of the athletes turned out to be massive. An investigation against Kamila's staff would have been opened automatically, since she is a protected person according to the documents. At the time of the violation she was not yet 16 years old. According to the All-Russian anti-doping rules, the athlete's staff is not only her coaching staff, but also medical staff, team officials, parents or any other persons who help in preparing for the competition, so the investigation was conducted not only in relation to Kamila's mentors. If you remember which version the defense adheres to, the drug could have entered the body by accident. Since Kamila's grandfather took it, then much falls into place. Most likely, it was this theory that was tested in Ruzeda in the first place.